Medieval Misadventures, Episode 27, Zella and the Story of Timothy. Paxton had had a long day of work and was looking forward to a well-earned rest at the diesel works. He reversed slowly over the bridge that was before the sheds and went through the small tunnel. But as he exited the tunnel, he went over a small patch of oil and accidentally slipped a little, and he bumped into something at the shed behind him. "Whoops," he said. "Sorry about that." He didn't know it was a line of fuel tankers he had bumped into. There was no response, so Paxton just went back onto the turntable, spun on it, and reversed into one of the sheds. He was too tired to even look at what he had bumped into in the sheds. None of the other diesels had noticed the fuel tankers in the shed. A couple minutes later, Spankin arrived at the diesel works after his long day of work. Since he was going forward, he was quick to notice the fuel tankers in the shed as he went over the bridge. He prepared to slow down as he went down the hill. But then he slipped on the patch of oil and it slid across the turntable. Spankin shut his eyes, thinking he was going to crash into the fuel tankers, but just then a gust of wind blew the shed door shut. Spankin ran into it and fell over. The other diesels were startled awake. "Oh, dizzy diesels, what's going on out here?" asked Dart. The other diesels rolled out of their sheds and looked at Spankin. Just then, the shed door of another shed opened up, and out rolled Diesel 10. "Spankin, what's the big idea?" he said. "Why are you running down the line and smashing into the shed door?" "I'm sorry," said Spankin. "I was trying to stop, but there was a patch of oil on the track right there. I almost would have hit the fuel tankers there in the shed and..." "Wait, fuel tankers?" said Diesel 10. "Yes," said Spankin. "I could see them in the shed right as I came down the hill. Thankfully, the door shut before I could crash into them." "Now who put fuel tankers in that shed?" asked Diesel 10. He looked at the other diesels, particularly at Bowler. "I didn't do it," he said. "It's true," said Den. "Me and Dart were back here before him, and we didn't see him do anything." "We didn't do it either," said Dart. "Well, someone did," said Diesel 10. I think I saw someone move those tankers into the shed when I was loading cars at this loader earlier today," said Sydney. "Who was it?" asked Diesel 10. Sorry, I forget," said Sydney. The other diesels rolled their eyes. "Well," said Diesel 10, "we'll take care of this in the morning." And he rolled back into his shed. "Oh, hey, no, stop. Den and Dart rolled back into their sheds, and Bowler reversed further back into his spot in the shed. Paxton, however, was a little worried. Who would have put the fuel tankers in the shed? It would have surely caused a nasty explosion if someone crashed into them, and it could have maybe started a fire that could burn down the entire diesel works. Paxton didn't want anyone else to hit Spankin or the shed, so he had the turntable spun around, so that if anyone slipped on the oil, the turntable would stop them before they could reach the shed. Paxton then reversed into his shed and tried to get some sleep. The next morning, a tow truck came to get Spankin back on the rails, and the patch of oil was also cleaned up. While Spankin rolled into the shed to have his front bumpers repaired, Paxton took the fuel tankers back to the yard. On his way to the yard, Paxton had to stop at a signal at the steamworks junction to allow Henry to pass through with a goods train. On one of the flatbeds was Thomas. Thomas was soaking wet and very cross. "What happened to you, Thomas?" asked Paxton. "Sorry," said Henry. "We can't stay and talk. I need to get Thomas to the steamworks and then deliver my train to the mainland kingdom. If you want to know what happened, talk to Zella in the yard. She was there when it happened." The points then changed, the signal went up, and Paxton continued on his way. As Paxton continued on his way to the yard, he passed by the washdown, and there he saw Percy, covered from smokebox to cap in sticky, gooey chocolate. "What happened to you, Percy?" asked Paxton. "Well," said Percy, "I was on my way back to the shed after my mail run, when two of the negatives pushed some chocolate cards onto the crossing." "Get clear, -4. This is gonna get messy." No, don't leave us here." "And I smashed into the chocolate carts and got chocolate all over my lovely green paint." "Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear that," said Paxton. "Yeah," said Percy. "Well, when I got here, I noticed Timothy the number 0 emptying all the soap and water from the tower here. Now I've got to wait for more soap and water to be delivered before I can get cleaned up. And by the time it arrives, this chocolate will be almost impossible to get off." Paxton frowned. He didn't like it when Timothy and the negatives caused trouble for his friends. Just then, Mystery puffed in with the water tanker. At the same time, Emily puffed in with the bubblesome trucks. "Sorry I'm late, Percy," said Mystery. "I could have gotten here earlier, but I had to take a detour because of some blown-up tracks." "Whoa, blown-up tracks?" said Paxton. "I had to take a detour because of blown-up tracks too," said Emily from inside the shed. "Who could have blown up the tracks?" asked Percy. "It's a mystery." But Paxton had a feeling he knew who was responsible, and he continued on his way to the yard. After a while of traveling, Paxton finally arrived at the shunting yard. He shunted the fuel tankers into an empty siding. In fact, all the sidings were empty, except for one where Zella was resting. Paxton rolled up into the siding and stopped in front of Zella. "Hi, Paxton," said Zella. "What brings you here?" Paxton told Zella about how there have been some fuel tankers in one of the diesel work sheds waiting to be crashed into. "Oh dear," said Zella, "that's very serious. I'm glad nothing bad happened, other than Spancan hitting the door and coming off the rails." "Yes," said Paxton. "Thank goodness the tankers weren't hit hard enough to blow up. I mean, I bumped into them when I was coming back, but I was reversing, so I didn't know they were tankers behind me." Zella sighed. "Well, we've been having quite a lot of mishaps lately," she said. "Yes, indeed," said Paxton. "Thomas was in some kind of mishap. He was on a flatbed on Henry's train when I was on my way here, and he was soaking wet. Henry said you might know what happened. You were there when Thomas had his accident." "Yes, I was there," said Zella. "I'll tell you what happened." And she did. "I was at the docks being shunted. Salty and Porter had stopped to talk for a little bit, and Carly was getting ready to unload pipes on Salty's flatbeds. At that moment, Stefano came into the docks. He had been giving Thomas a ride along the ocean that evening, and now Thomas was ready to be put back on the rails. So Cranky swung his hook around, picked up Thomas, and began to lower him down to the tracks. Suddenly at that moment, Zero came into the docks. Zero, as you may remember, is the truck counterpart of Timothy, the number 0. Anyways, Zero came down the line and hit Thomas before he could be placed on the track. Thomas flew off Cranky's hook, and he landed on the pipes on Salty's flatbeds. He then rode off the pipes and splashed into the ocean. Everyone was shocked at what had just happened. I could do nothing but watch as Zero raced away from the docks. Carly fished Thomas out of the water as quickly as she could, but the damage had already been done. I felt very sorry for Thomas. He had only just come back from the works after his accident at the quarry not too long ago. "That's terrible," said Paxton. "It is," said Zella. "Why must Timothy, the negatives, and Zero be so naughty? I mean, I know there are lots of villains who are naughty, but those guys in particular are especially naughty. They've been causing a lot of trouble since like the start of the kingdoms, as far as I know. Yeah, why are they so naughty?" Zella sighed and looked around. "I happen to know the story behind that," she said. "I mean, I know why they went bad, and I know some stuff about them before that. And, well, I pretty much know a lot about their past." "Really?" said Paxton. "Do you think you could maybe tell me the story while I've got nothing to do?" "Well, okay," said Zella. And she started to tell the story of Timothy, the number 0, as well as the negatives, and Zero, the truck. So Timothy and his friends were around from the beginning of the kingdoms. But back then, they weren't the gray demons that we know them as today. Back then, Timothy and the negatives were painted a different color, navy. They had yellow lining, and their eyes weren't black with red pupils. Their eyes were pretty much the same as everyone else's. They were good engines back then, who just wanted nothing more than to claim a piece of land for their own. But unfortunately, that was easier said than done. Before I get onto that, Zero back then was a black truck with yellow lining, and he, like the others, didn't have black eyes with red pupils. Anyways, Timothy and the negatives, as well as Zero, were always looking for land that they could claim for themselves. But every piece of land they went to look for was already taken by someone else. "Sorry, bud, this land has already been taken to become the Sodor Kingdom." "Oh man." "Sorry, this land is going to become the other kingdom." "Rats." "Sorry guys, but this is going to become the mainland kingdom, ruled by me and Caitlin." "Oh man." "Sorry buddy, but this misty island that's next to the kingdom of Sodor has already been claimed by the logging locals." "That's right." "Oh man." "Are you kidding me?" "Sorry, but you really are standing on the rails of the future Furnace Kingdom. This is ridiculous. Everyone is taking the pieces of land we want to claim for ourselves. Well, you snooze, you lose. We haven't had a wink of sleep in days. We've been trying to search for land to claim before anyone else does. Well, you're out of luck." You better give us this land, Albert, or we will be forced to use force. Oh, so you want to do it the hard way, huh? Well, you'll have to deal with Otto and Becky here if you want to take this land. Come on, Otto, said Becky. Let's show these little tank engines what we're made of. Get 'em, boys. Oh, whoa, oh, ow. You'll pay for that. Oh! Come on, -3. Work all together. Surely the two of us can overpower one of those stupid 10 engines. Charge! Nice try. Alright, Timothy, said Otto. You and your truck friend are the only ones left. Still want to try to take this land? Or are you just gonna go and get a crane and take your friends away? Timothy still wanted to take the land, but he was too afraid to attack the others without his friends helping him. Instead, he puffed away to get a crane. Soon the negatives had been placed back on the track. They gave the Furnace Kingdom engines an angry glare before they got ready to leave. We'll be back, and we'll get this land somehow, they said, and they all quickly raced away. I had often watched them try to claim pieces of land, and I felt rather sorry for them, but I knew there was nothing I could really do to help out. A little later, Timothy, Zero, and the negatives were talking about what they were going to have to do in order to claim a piece of land. Those Furnace Kingdom engines are way too tough, said Zero. We need some way to make you guys tougher than they are. Well, I don't know about that, said -2. Yeah, said -4. Even if we did get tough, it's highly unlikely we could possibly beat those Furnace Kingdom engines. I don't even know if we could beat any of the other engines from other kingdoms, said -3. Especially that diesel with the claw from the other kingdom, said -1. What do you think we ought to do, Timothy? Said Zero. Timothy didn't really know what to think. Well, I would guess we ought to do what Zero thinks we ought to do. Become tougher than the toughies, if you know what I mean. But how are we going to do that? Asked -2. Before Timothy could respond, a voice came from behind a drawbridge. So, you guys are looking for a way to make yourself tough and unstoppable? Well, today's your lucky day. Everyone looked at the long green hopper car that was standing behind the drawbridge. Timothy puffed up to him. So you are saying that you'll help us out? Oh yeah, I'll help you guys out. I can give you guys the power to defeat your enemies or anyone that stands in your way of claiming land. You can? You will? Of course I can, of course I will, but it's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost us? How much? Asked -2. Your goodness. Pardon me? You guys are gonna have to hand over all your goodness if you want this power to become tough and hard to beat. Timothy, once again, didn't know what to think. When he saw the faces of his friends, he decided to accept Scamley's offer. Alright then, what's your name? Scamley. Okay, Scamley, we'll give you our goodness if you can make us tough and hard to beat. Of course I can do that. So Scamley led Zero, Timothy, and the Negatives to an old warehouse. There was some machinery inside. Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives went in, and the doors were shut in front of them. Soon, the sound of large machines came on. Then, there was even louder noises. Bright lights flashed between the cracks between the doors. The doors opened, and out rolled the new Negatives, as well as Zero and Timothy. Instead of navy, as well as black, they were now gray with red lining. Their eyes were now black with red pupils, and none of them had any good left in them. Perfect. Now you can go back to those Furnace Kingdom engines and show them what the new views are made of. Okay then. But if it doesn't work out, don't worry, it will. Don't think on if it won't work. Just do it and you'll see how successful you will be. As soon as Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives left, Scamley rolled away laughing. But he was laughing so much that he forgot to watch where he was going. Scamley smashed into the brake van, knocked it over, and went crashing up onto the flatbeds. Ugh, what the? He cried. But the worst wasn't over yet. He bumped into the train so hard that the car started to roll forward. Ow! Hey! Oh no! The train came to the edge of a steep hill and then started to roll down it. Help! Cried Stanley. There was more trouble up ahead. A goods train was sticking out of a siding on the points. With a splintering crash, Scamley's trucks hit the train hard. His trucks then came off the rails, slipped off a bend, and plunged into a deep ravine. Ah! Scamley fell to the ground and died. And that's the story of Scamley's death. Yeah, a nice unexpected bonus. If that's what you're thinking it is. But the trouble wasn't over yet. The brake van of the goods train was still dangling over the edge, and it began to slide off the edge and drag the couplings of the other cars with it until... Wait, hold on. It's interesting to know how Scamley died, but wasn't this story supposed to be about Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives? Yes, I was about to get right back to them. After Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives' transformation, they returned to the Furnace Kingdom to take care of some unfinished business. Ready, Negative 2? Oh yes, I'm ready, alright. Ah! Hey, what's going on over here? I heard a crashing. Ha ha! That's right. Run away from the new Timothy and the Negatives, and 0. Ha 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 ha. And so the chaos began. Yeah. Zero raced into a siding and hid, just as an engine from the Furnace Kingdom came down the line with a goods train from the Kingdom of Sildor. He didn't see the dynamite on the track until it was too late. Whoa, incoming! Whoa! The tracks have been blown to smithereens. The first 2 cars of the train were heavily damaged, and the engine was nowhere to be seen. But the worst wasn't over yet. There was a fuel tanker stuck on the double crossroad track, and another engine was coming the other way. And his brakes weren't working well that day, so as you can imagine, the explosion from that accident caused the brake van in the last truck to be pushed backwards. Well, 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 you're a truck with a face just like me. Yes, my name is Scruffy, as you can see right there. Who are you supposed to be? My name is Zero, as it says right here. So you caused that first accident with the dynamite, I assume? Yes, I did. It almost got me killed though, and so did that second accident. Yes, but you're still alive right now, aren't you? Yes, and I must say, I'm rather impressed with both accidents you caused. Why, thank you, Scruffy. You know, I can tell you like causing trouble as much as I do. Well, I cause a bit of mischief every now and then. Well, who knows? Maybe one day we'll collaborate on something. You never know. Maybe. And on that day, Scruffy, aka my dad, became friends with Zero. Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives continued on with their rampage of killing Furnace Kingdom engines. Here goes, said -1, and he bumped his fuel tanker and pushed it into the bridge support. At that moment, a blue tank engine named Andy was going up the hill with a goods train. Suddenly, ow! Andy was gone. Let me tell you, these guys were doing their work fast. Oh! Bricks flew from the flatbed and put a hole in the tanker. On the bridge up ahead, 2 of the Negatives were waiting with searchlight cars. As the engine started going under the bridge, the Negatives slammed their searchlight cars together, causing the bulbs that were lit up at the moment to break. As a result, this caused sparks to fly from the cars down to the tanker and the engine below. Back up, back up! There weren't very many Furnace Kingdom engines left. I'll hide in here and I'll be safe. Those little gray terrorists won't even know I'm in here. Do 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 do. do 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 do. Another engine was gone. But it wasn't just the engines that Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives were destroying. They also were after some of the Furnace Kingdom trucks. Zero distracted Freedom, the brake van, so that the Negatives and Timothy could sneak over to where her parents were sleeping. And then they brought down the tall superstation that the parents were sleeping in and killed them. Albert soon called a meeting with the last couple of Furnace Kingdom engines. Ricky, Marcus, we are in a terrible crisis right now. If we don't do something about Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives, there's gonna be no more Furnace Kingdom engines. Marcus growled crossly. Ricky just shivered a little. The pain I will inflict on those gray terrors when I see them next, said Marcus. Just then a crane engine puffed up. Who are you? Asked Albert. I'm Huey, said the crane engine, and I bring a message from the kingdom of Sodor. Well, what is this message from the Sodor kingdom? Asked Albert. Yeah, what is it? Asked Marcus. I'm happy to say that the Negatives have been defeated, and when I say defeated, I mean like they've been destroyed. What? How? Asked Albert. Well, said Huey. The Negatives were all hanging out around a crossing track. Then, one of them heard a noise from nearby. He went to inspect it, and then... At the same time... Take this! And all four Negatives collided on the crossing and fell into a big pile. They were going nowhere now. The engines quickly backed up to a safe distance. Alright, Harold, shouted Mavis. Now! And Harold the helicopter flew above the Negatives with a crate of dynamite, and he released it. Really? Was that really necessary? Maybe. So yeah, you all are free from the Negatives at least. From what I've heard, Timothy has retreated to hide away somewhere. But anyways, you're all safe now. At least some of you are safe. Anyways, I gotta go. Have a good day. Well, that's a relief, said Ricky. The Sodor engines defeated those terrible Negatives, said Albert. Yeah, said Ricky. You should be grateful, Albert. But it was very easy to tell that Albert had been attacked by the green-eyed monster. It should have been us who defeated them, not the Sodor engines. Now they're gonna be the heroes for a while. They're gonna get all the attention and all of the... oh dear. So it was at that point on that the kingdoms were free from the Negatives. Timothy was hiding away, plotting his revenge. And as for Zero, well, it wasn't long after that Zero was defeated by my mother. But unfortunately, after Zero was defeated... Let me guess, said Paxton. After Zero was defeated, Scruffy got mad and divorced with your mother after what she did to his friend. Yep, that's correct, said Zella. Not long after Scruffy divorced with my mom, Timothy, the number 0, went and hid in the old abandoned Olmsted Castle. Sometime later, a bunch of good trucks went to the castle, and one of them took a magical talisman that Timothy had. When the talisman was taken, it caused the old castle to collapse down on Timothy, resulting in his death. And as for all the Furnace Kingdom engines who were killed by Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives, they all went to train heaven, and from what I know, they escaped during the time that me, Scaredy, and the others went to rescue Dread from train heaven. They all escaped and returned to the Furnace Kingdom. They returned to Albert. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know about Timothy, Zero, and the Negatives. Wow, said Paxton. That was quite the story about Timothy, the Negatives, and Zero. Yes, indeed, said Zella. I know that Timothy and his friends gave all their goodness away to Stanley, but call me crazy if you have to, but I still think there might be some good inside each and every one of them.